Alright, photographers, today I want to talk to you about something that just might change your workflow forever. Hi guys, Mike from Photography Professional Imaging and Mike's Photo Academy. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Lightroom CC. Now, you're all familiar with Photoshop. It's a word synonymous with photography and editing and overall just manipulating photos altogether. But Lightroom is a little less known. It's popular amongst photographers. And recently, Adobe has just released within the past week a new edition and renaming of a couple of their apps or programs. So basically, Lightroom, as we used to know it, is now classified as Lightroom Classic CC, and now Lightroom CC is known as an online photo manipulation tool, but it does a lot of things for you. It actually helps you import the photos, categorize the photos nearly automatically, and you can still edit them right here on the screen as well, or within the app, obviously. But it does a lot of things well. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not for me. It doesn't do everything that I need it to do, like Lightroom Classic, as it's called now, does for me. For me personally, I'm doing a wedding, and we average about 3,000 images per wedding. This is not really for that as far as I'm concerned, but it is great for the beginning photographers who might want to just import their images in, get them categorized. And this does so much for you that's really incredible, actually, as far as searching for photos and things like that. But I think it's easiest if I just go ahead and bring a photo in and kind of show you what it does. So what I'm going to do is actually go up to this little plus mark up here, and basically this is in our import button. So I'm going to add photos, and I'm going to come to my pictures folder here, and then I'm going to come up to a recent photo of a gentleman that I met at an event a couple weeks ago. And you'll see this gentleman here. He's a drummer. He is a fantastic drummer. His name is Philip. So I'm going to click on Review for Import down here, and what this is going to allow me to do is, imagine that I had a full memory card here with 300 photos. You could actually go through and pick which particular images you wanted to upload to the cloud. Now keep in mind, these images are not going to your hard drive. They're actually being uploaded to the cloud, which is great because you don't have them taking up space on a hard drive anywhere. And the other great thing about Lightroom CC is that you can access your photos from anywhere. These will sync not only with your computer on your desktop, they'll automatically sync with your phone, your iPhone. You can access them from the web, from anybody's computer. You just go to the Lightroom website, and your photos will be there as long as you're logged in. Now, this does require a subscription to Adobe CC. There is a photography plan. There is a plan strictly for this particular app, Lightroom CC. And this, if you do this alone, I believe it's $10 a month, and you get a terabyte's worth of storage in the cloud. So again, that makes it really easy to access your images from wherever you are, from any computer, from your phone, whatever it may be. So it's really cool, and we'll kind of walk through, and I'm going to import this image of Philip in right now, and I'm just going to come up here and click on Add One Photo. Excuse me. So now you'll see that this image is actually added of Philip here, and looks good. So one thing that we can do is actually we can start to manipulate it. Oh, the other thing that I want you to notice is, even though I can see this here, the image, up in the right hand corner, you'll see that it's actually syncing in the background. So it's syncing up to the cloud, syncing over to your other devices that you might have, your other computers, whatever it may be. It's syncing across all your devices at the moment, as well as with the cloud. So the other thing that will happen here is, behind the scenes, is as you make adjustments to an image, those will also sync across to all of your other devices. So the next time I look at this on my phone, after I've made some manipulations, it will all be synced, and those same manipulations will be seen from the other devices. And it goes backwards as well. So let's say I go home and I'm on my laptop and I make some more manipulations there to this same image. It syncs back to my desktop computer where I am now in the studio. Really, really slick. So let's say we want to brighten this up, for instance, for, you know, just for demonstration purposes here. You've got all these tools over on the right hand side that you can use to edit your photos. So we can go to, and as you see as I hover over them, it'll give you a shortcut key, which is E for edit, and it'll also give you the definition of each one. So you've got a crop right beneath that. You've got a healing brush beneath that, another brush there, gradients, and radial gradients here. So again, as I've mentioned, let's just say that I want to brighten up this image. So I'm going to click on the develop tool, or excuse me, the edit button here. It's develop in Lightroom. And we just want to brighten it up. It's very simple. Click on light, and you'll see all these sliders that you have here at your disposal for whatever you want to do to the image. So let's say I don't like the shadows being so dark. I want to bring up the shadows. It's simple. All we do is just bring up that slider. If I'm finding the whites are too white, I want to show a little more definition in the blacks. I want a little more contrast between the blacks and the whites. Exposure, I can bring it up just a touch. And then from there, you can either click on the word light again, and it closes that particular module, and you can open up the one down below it, which is the color module. Now you can change the color temperature. You get the idea here. We can pop those colors just a little bit more if we want to, bring up the saturation just a touch. The effects module here, we can increase the clarity, give the image just a little more punch, a little more edginess. Dehaze, this is really great for, you know, obviously if you take a photo on a hazy day of a sky or a landscape or something like that, that slider there helps to take some of that away and bring back some of that color from the sky. Vignetting, as you can see, you can adjust that any way you'd like, back and forth. And again, this whole time with every one of these adjustments that I make, it is syncing back to the other devices, whether it's on my phone, whether you access it from the internet on even another computer, a friend's computer, or your iPads or any other type of tablets, things like that. Detail, you can sharpen the image. You know, these are pretty self-explanatory. I'm just kind of walking through here. Noise reduction, if you've got a lot of grain in the image, you can take that out. And you can color noise reduction, and you can even add grain if you want to. So here I've just added a little bit of grain to the image just for demonstration purposes. Optics, if you need to remove chromatic aberration or enable lens corrections. Sometimes with zoom lenses especially, you'll start to see a little distortion around the edges. So this helps to eliminate that, and will straighten out that image as you've just seen there. A low disk space, clear some space in your local storage settings. Okay, cool, I can do that. So just for now, I'm just gonna undo those. And then geometry, we can do things like actually level, vertical, you know, just manipulate the image even further if we want to. One of the really, and just kind of, well, let's go through get that out of the way. We'll go through the other tools here briefly. There's an auto button here, so you can auto straighten the image itself. You can do it manually with the slider back and forth. Let's undo that. There's an undo button right there. Rotate, flip the image. We can come down. This even has a spot healing tool. So if we want to, we can adjust our brush size here. So if you look over Philip's face here, I'm adjusting my brush size, and what we can do is actually, let's say that he has a blemish here. Let me zoom in on the image. I'll come down here. Excuse me, I feel like I have to sneeze. Come down here to the bottom. We'll zoom this in 1:1. And then we'll drag the image down, and let's just say that I want to remove a blemish. Not that he has any, but just for an example here, let's just take off this bright blue spot here, just for, again, as an example. All we do is click on it, and it's going to sample from another part of his hat. So now you see that bright blue part of his hat, or let's say some other blemish, you know, a pimple or something like that from the face, we can remove, and the software itself will help to blend it in and make it not nearly as noticeable, if not unnoticeable at all. The other sliders that you see here are, again, the size of the brush. We can choose the feathering of the brush to how much it's going to feather into the rest of the image, and the actual opacity. So if we want to make that a little less noticeable, you can kind of see that we can kind of see through the image here, through the correction rather. So I'm going to undo those changes, and we're right back where we started. This is another brush here where we can actually brush in on certain parts of the image. So let's just say, for instance, that I want to lighten up this portion of Philip's head here, his forehead, his temple area. The slider itself is already over in, actually let's zero all of these out here just for a better tool, better demonstration here. We still have the amount of the brush that we can slide back and forth to increase our brush size. But what I want to show you here is we can actually just take your mouse or your tool that you're using. You know, some of us use a pen tablet, but you can see I haven't made any changes here because none of my sliders are adjusted on this side. But I've actually brushed over his head here. But you'll see as soon as I start to make an adjustment here in the exposure slider, that comes up. Obviously that's grossly overexposed just for demonstration purposes here, but we can actually brighten up particular points across his face. So if there's too much shadow, if we decide that there's too much shadow on his face, we can actually manipulate that and correct that. Again, this isn't something that I would normally do, this is just for demonstration. But the other great thing is once you've made a selection here, which is a great thing about Lightroom, you can change all of these other sliders in any way that you want to correct or enhance the image. So we can actually take the saturation way up, which is going to look really weird, but just for demonstration purposes, that particular spot that we've already brushed over, we can manipulate in any one of these particular ways here. So this is really, really cool. Now, if you're wondering, you know, is this harming my original image? The answer is no. All of these changes are being, we never touch the original image. Basically what's happening is the software is recording the edits that we've made and, you know, basically superimposing them over the top of the original image. The original image is not damaged in any way, so that's really, really cool. So literally anything, drop down the clarity, anything we want to do within that particular range is done. Now you see as I hover over that particular pinpoint, pardon me, that it's actually showing us an overlay of what we've brushed over. So we know exactly, well, maybe I could get a little bit more in here and maybe under the glasses. So as soon as we do that and we hover back over that little pinpoint there, it shows us that now we've covered that particular area as well with our brush. If we need to erase anything, we have an eraser button here. All we do is come right back to the same adjustments. Let's say I don't like them after all, I can erase this particular area now. And again, between the brush and the buttons over here, now you can see that if I hover over it, that particular portion has been erased and does not carry those adjustments anymore. So pretty cool stuff. If we wanted to eliminate this altogether, we can make sure that that is highlighted. Click on your particular pinpoint there, hit your delete key on your keyboard, and those adjustments are gone completely. Slick stuff. Linear gradient tool. This is something that we can kind of get into in another video here, but basically what this allows us to do is, let's say, drag. We want to make the the right side darker, let's say. We can drag this gradient tool over the top of it, and we can actually bring down the exposure on that particular side of the image. So there are a lot of things that Lightroom CC can do for you. And it's really, really a lot of the things that you can do in Lightroom Classic CC as it's known now. But it's still limited. This is I would call it an intermediate type of feature set as far as photo manipulation, categorizing, and things like that. I still prefer, especially for wedding work, I'm going to go with Lightroom Classic as it has all of the functionality that I need. But again, this is great for, let's say, beginning photographers, people that aren't used to using Lightroom yet. This is a great segue into that, if you will. And then you've also got a radial gradient here too, where you can make a circle here, let's say, and then you can adjust the contrast on the outside of that circle. We can invert it, so now just his face, you know, as you can see, is overexposed now. But you know, you can adjust the photo in a number of different ways. So it's really, really awesome. And again, the best thing about it is all of these images, all of your images that you upload here, as long as you have space in the cloud, and again, with 1 terabyte, most beginning photographers are going to have plenty of space with a terabyte. You know, you can access this from anywhere, so it's wonderful as far as that goes. Now, another thing that I want to show you here real quick is the fact that, oh, actually, let's get rid of that, just so poor Philip doesn't look overexposed here. So the other thing we can do is come back over to our, what looks like a banker's box here. It's called My Photos. But basically, from there, we can click on All Photos, let's say. I want to talk just a little bit about the search functionality here. You notice that when I imported this image, I did not keyword it in any way. So if you're not familiar with keywords, what keywords do is, let's say normally when I import images into Lightroom Classic, the other application, I will usually keyword those particular photos. So I might say the word wedding, I might say Beverly, I might say the last name Smith. So that way, if I need to look through the hundreds of thousands of images that I have, I can look up a particular image or group of images by a particular keyword. I haven't done that here. So what I want to do is, you'll see that I have 8,695 images currently uploaded to the cloud through Lightroom CC here. Not all of them are there. I have many more than that. But of those 8,000 images, 8,600, 8,700 here, I want to see just a photo. I'm going to take this out to the grid. So you can see I've got engagement photos here. I've got performance, from my son's performance. Let's just say I want to find Philip, and I know he was playing the drums. So let's see what happens if I come up here to the search function at the top and type in drum. Let's see if Lightroom CC is smart enough to bring back, wow, that particular image, or those sets of images. Now, I have uploaded Philip's images in here before. You'll see that these are all basically different. They were all taken in sequence, of course, as I was watching Philip perform, and I actually got to play with him, which is really cool. I have a set of congas here at the studio, and I like to play Latin percussion, so actually got to sit down with him. But you can see out of those 8,700 photos, it actually found automatically pictures of a drum. If we do bride, obviously we're going to find a lot of bride photos in here. It's really amazing how this functionality happens. Let's try something a little, well, I would put in shoe, but that's a little much. Let's put in tree, perhaps. So what happens in the background is actually it pulls up my Christmas tree background. You can see how this works. It's really, really slick. All the algorithms in the back happening in the background is really, really cool to help you find your images later without even keywording them. Now, one thing I'm noticing here is I don't see a tree, but you know what? This is wood. So it's picking up the wood grain actually from the floor here. So it's super intelligent. It's kind of crazy when you think about what this is capable of doing. So again, this is just a brief introduction to you guys. You can go to adobe.com and find Lightroom CC there. And again, if you're a beginning photographer, this might be really, really good for you to kind of take a step toward Lightroom Classic, or even into Photoshop. It's a nice step stool, if you will, on the way there. But it categorizes, as I've shown you. You can do edits here. You can access your photos from any device, anywhere. You can always create albums over here as well. So let's say that I wanted to pull in just those photos of Philip. I could come into my own here. I could create an album, rename it Philip, and then pull those images in. So let's go back to drum here just to show you how we can do this. So now let's say I want to pull all of these in here. I can do a Control or Command A depending on which operating system you're working on. And then I could pull, let's actually create a folder here. Oh, I already did, sorry. Called it Philip. So I can pull these images in right into Philip's folder here. So as soon as it syncs up, I'm going to see these images and see this number 1 change. Really cool stuff. If you got any questions, if you have any further questions for me, leave them in the comments down below. Like I said, if you're interested in checking this out, it's $10 a month. It sounds like a lot of money, but there are, as Adobe is known for, they are continually upgrading and enhancing all of these applications across their entire suite of offerings that they have. So to always be upgraded to the latest and greatest version of all of their different apps, I am a subscriber to the photography plan. And I have access to Lightroom Classic, Lightroom CC, this particular program, and Adobe Photoshop, and they all stay updated completely, continuously. So it works out very well for me, working across different computers and different locations. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to manage all of your photos, and I hope this helps you out a lot. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. Mike from Photography, Professional Imaging, and Mike's Photo Academy. Check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.